Welcome to Power Talks with Santosa. We are in conversation with the Minister of Tourism and Civil Aviation, Honorable Mrs. Hisila Yami. Honorable Minister, Sir Edmund Hillary introduced Nepal and Himalayas in the 1950s to the world. Despite half-century efforts of trying to promote the tourism sector of Nepal, we're still struggling. Why is it so?
I think it's very important to know that Hillary was indeed the person who introduced Himalaya and introduced the tourism potentiality in Nepal. But it's also important to note that he represents about nearly 20% of the tourists that come for hard trekking, you see, high mountain trekking. We have many, about 40% of the tourists come for holiday tourism. So from that point of view, it is important to diversify tourism, you see, and that's where our ministry is now trying to diversify. That's why we are bringing homestay. We are also emphasizing on the internal tourism, you see, because now already we have festivities of many ethnic groups themselves coming and celebrating tourism festivities. Ground level, you see, people are coming up to showcase their places. And in fact, most interesting aspect of it is that the FNCCI, the local FNCCI, the Chamber of Commerce at local level are in fact organizing such events. And that's why we are saying that economic revolution is the thing, because that will catalyze all other aspects, including tourism.
So how open is your ministry or the government towards foreign investments into the tourism sector in Nepal?
From that point of view, I mean, our ministry is one ministry where we have private-public partnership. In fact, that is the main component of the tourism sector, because we are just facilitating. In fact, most of the work is done by the private sector.
You recently traveled to Germany to promote Nepal Tourism Year 2011. Yes. What were the major achievements out of the trip?
I think the first thing is that people there were very curious to see this Maoist minister coming as a tourist minister, and their first question was that there should be a direct flight between Frankfurt and Kathmandu, because many times they have to come via Delhi or via Middle East, and then for them, that's very time consuming. So with the coming of new airplanes, we will be concentrating on those areas.
You have talked about a lot of new ventures in the tourism sector, like sports tourism,
yes, adventure
tourism, and rural tourism, which is very interesting to me.
Rural tourism especially.
And where do you see the market for these tourism sectors?
Well, I would just tell you an interesting event, because when I was in war, we had to travel through dense forest, and while traveling through while trekking through that time itself, I said, wow, this is such a lovely place to explore. In fact, this is what ecotourism is, with all the chirpings of new chirpings, and that's why our ministry is already having this Neutral Planet Fund, where I have myself contributed 10,000 in that bank, so that whoever the tourists come, they plant trees. So we have this plantation of trees as a campaign going from the Nepal Tourism Board. So from that point of view, we are quite aware of aware of the capacity of our country to contribute to the world, in reducing the effect of global warming, in reducing the pollution and all that.
And lastly, I would like to ask you, are you satisfied with the performance of your government overall?
Not particularly. I mean, we are trying hard to have our agenda. I mean, our agendas are fantastic, but it is being sabotaged here and there in the name of, as I told you, there's retrogressive forces who are, using all kinds of means to disrupt this effort. But having said that, we are very committed to it, and our ministry is very committed from that point of view. We are working very hard for it.
In that case, do you see that your government will sustain?
It should, because our sustainability is also dependent very much on the whole country's sustainability. Let me tell you this again, because it is we who brought this agenda, and we have a plan to solve this, we have a plan to save this country, especially at this historical juncture when both the countries, the neighboring countries, India and China, which has a great stake in the whole region, and because the region, South Asia and the whole Asian region is again dependent on the world, you see, because now Asia is the place where economic agenda is picking up, and when they are themselves wanting to see Nepal stable and prosperous, and we have that agenda, we feel that people are with us. Only few of the retrogressive forces are trying to create hindrance. We are trying to go ahead with our economic agenda despite all these obstacles, knowing that this historical juncture, if we miss the bus, then not only we miss the bus, but the country will also miss the bus.
Let's hope that we reach a logical conclusion of the peace process and drafting of constitution.
Yes, it's very important, because this logical conclusion will have a spillover effect also on the neighboring giant Asian countries, and if giant Asian countries are stable, it will have a spillover over all the world. So whole the world can take a good inspiration from the peace process in Nepal.
So I would want to be very hopeful that the people's involvement, and then somewhere a harmonical approach from all political parties brings peace to our country.
Certainly.
And we also see a sound tourism in Nepal.
Thank you.
With this hope that Nepal is able to achieve the goal of becoming one of the world's high-end tourist destinations in the world, I wish you good luck and goodbye. See you next week, the same time. Thank you for being on the show. And Mr. This is a small gift for you.
Okay,
and
that's lovely.
Actually, these are